Hey everybody, welcome to another video review. This is another statue review. I'm sure some of you are going to be happy that I'm going back to more statue reviews and kind of passing by my Blood Rage board game craze lately and my puzzle craze lately. So this is the black suit Superman. There's not a lot of black suit versions of Superman out there in statue form. This is a custom statue, and I jumped on it when I had the chance because it's such a striking example of power and strength. I think I've mentioned before how I dislike over-the-top anatomy, but while he looks tremendously powerful and built, I don't think it's inaccurate. I don't think it's excessive. But certainly definitely very sort of gives you that feeling of overwhelming power, overwhelming strength. And there's a couple of ways you can portray Superman. I think one way is to, like with the original Sideshow version, emphasize sort of almost like he's a regular person, the Alex Ross style. But of course, underneath all that, he is the Man of Steel, nigh invulnerable. And this is sort of the other tact where you want to showcase Superman to be sort of as strong as he truly is. And that's the direction that this sculptor went for. One of the coolest things, and there's a lot of interesting things about this particular piece. Number one, I think obviously the thing that really captures your attention immediately is he has really bright LED eyes to symbolize his heat vision. It's hot and the lights they use are very bright, and it has this really nice effect because obviously the inside of the head is hollow, the batteries are back there, and then the switch is as well. You can turn on the switch by taking the hair off, and in this case they use a little bit of translucency, I think, in the resin. And that's a really good effect because close up, you sort of feel like, almost like, the inner fire is building and it's about to shoot out, which, is pretty consistent and is a good effect. So really bright LED eyes. There's some criticism because there's only one light. And so I think depending on how you turn him, one eye may be a little bit brighter than the other because of the way the light comes out, which is fair. But most of the time when you look at him straight on, there's no problems with it. And I think maybe two LEDs, one behind each eye, might have been a little bit excessive, or maybe a little bit harder to easier to break. And so if you're not turning him constantly, you just basically view him straight on, I think these eyes are perfectly fine. So that's number one. Number two, the chiseled anatomy, one of the better anatomical definitions of Superman I've seen. Great work on the back muscles, the arm muscles. It's very striking. The first thing you see from him, aside from the light up eyes, of course, is the musculature. And I really enjoy that as well. Like the way the S is sculpted on and placed over it. Very cool. I like the interesting suit. Again, you normally see him, of course, in his traditional, blue and red, but the way that he is now black, is very uncommon. Base is pretty classy with the S here. And I also kind of like the pose where most of the time, of course, for both Superman statues particularly and in general, they have them in the Captain Morgan pose with one leg lifted up. And here they have him sort of kneeling and then the other leg all the way straight down, and the boot is actually slightly above the level of the bottom part of the base, which is another nice touch. Let's take a look here at the details of the boots. This is, of course, digitally sculpted, and then you have the rubble as the base with columns and broken buildings and things like that. So I think definitely is a nice, nice touch. I like the base is nicely detailed, but not so overwhelmingly busy that it takes away from Superman himself. Now, when you go really close and you take a look at the suit, you can see that there's a striking amount of texture and detailing. He has this like, special little hexagonal texture markings, and the entire suit is covered in this. So I think that's pretty amazing, a pretty nice effect. So at first blush, first glance, he just looks like a little bit boring, like, oh, he's just in black. But when we get a little bit closer in detail, you can see that there's a lot of contrast there. A tremendous amount of beautiful texturing of the suit. The S stands out very nicely on the chest. Love the way it's layered. And then you can see the muscle definition underneath the texturing. There's also a little bit of contrast with his wrist gauntlet, so to speak, his belt, and then some of the black stripes of the suit as well. So again, kind of backing up, you can get to see him in all his glory. Unique pose, very powerful, very unique, sort of, a statue itself, nice art design, good anatomical musculature. Here's the pads down here near the knees. Here's his boots. So great representation of a black suit Superman, which again, you don't see very often. Here's the elbow, metallic parts here, elbow pads as well. This is only my second Superman. I'm not a huge Superman fan, so I only get a Superman piece if it's really, really striking. So again, I stuck with the Sideshow original premium format with the fabric, and then this black suit version. He comes, by the way, with 3 heads. So here's the first one. Again, nice detail of the hair and the beard. And I think the resin is translucent to kind of let the glow come through. So that's head number 1. Now bringing this into head number 2. This is almost exactly the same sculpture, except that he has a longer hair. I'm gonna put this up so you can kind of get a feel for what he looks like with the long hair. Here you go. Love the power, the strength in the pose and the statue itself. And then one more head is the clean shaven version right here. I mean, you can, I think the Sideshow version tried to use little pieces of plastic for the red, but nothing beats the light up. If you have heat vision, you're trying to see the heat vision, you gotta go for the light up. Now, are there any nitpicks for the statue? Not a lot of nitpicks, a few maybe. For the statue itself, the seam lines where the arms hit the chest can be construed as being a little bit visible, unless you assume that these are like, the seams of the actual suit itself. We mentioned the LED eyes already. There you go. 3 heads is a little bit excessive, mainly because I think if you looked at these 2 here, I mean, they're basically the same heads, except just one has a little bit more longer hair than the other. And so it might have been nice to have one head, for instance, without the LEDs. It might have been cheaper too, and just given us like a nice regular eyes, not lit up. These are, again, very minor The fists maybe could be a little bit more detailed instead of looking like it's just kind of cast from one solid mold. There might be a little bit better detail of the fists here. And finally, in terms of the packaging, well, the packaging itself was amazing and very, very secure. They did, the factory did make a little bit of a bush league mistake. They imprinted the Superman insignia on the bottom of the box instead of the top of the box, which of course doesn't affect the statue, but is a little bit of an annoying error, something that shouldn't have passed inspection. So there you have it. This is the black suit Spider-Man. Did I say Spider-Man? Superman. The black suit Superman. Definitely has a lot of presence, extremely fierce. Kind of, I think a lot of statues of Superman has him flying, highlights his nobility, but there's very few that sort of showcase how dangerous he could be when angry and how powerful he truly is. And I think this is definitely one of the statues that, in terms of just the attitude and the pose with the light up eyes, and especially the color of the suit, really sort of emphasize that aspect of him. I'm gonna put on my favorite head, which is the long-haired version with the beard. You don't see him like this very often, so we're really, really pleased with that. Hope you enjoyed that. This is a shorter review. There's not much to say. I don't want to, again, out of respect for the commissioner, I don't want to give away the name of the custom company or the commissioner, but this is a beautifully done sculpt, beautiful art design, great light up, just a total package. Definitely one of my favorite statues, in my opinion, one of the best Superman statues out there. Quarter scale, very, very nice, and definitely fits my collection a lot better than like those huge 1/3 scale ones, like the ones by Prime 1. So in my opinion, I like this better than the Prime 1 versions. I've never loved the whole Hush style with, again, exaggerated huge muscles. Here he's huge, he's big, but I feel like he's just more anatomical in this respect. Maybe it's just a style thing. I just like this style a lot better. I like this pose a lot better, and his size is more in keeping with how I like to display it. I think some of the 1/3 scales, again, is hard to display unless you have a whole bunch of them, and then unless you live in a mansion with a dedicated room and tons of pedestals, I don't see how that can be really viable, in the long term. So I still like my, my quarter scale versions. All right, there you go. So this is Black Suit Superman. I hope you enjoyed that. And until next time, do take care.